auto repair facility. If approved, any development pursuant to the preliminary development plan that you approved tonight requires review of a final development plan that is reviewed by the Planning Commission. Additionally, as a plan district, any substantial change to the use of the property from what is approved by this rezone and preliminary development plan may only be approved after a hearing by the Planning Commission and action by the governing body. And a substantial change is defined in the zoning code. So this is you could say this is a conditional rezone. The existing mini warehouse facility, tow lot, and auto repair facility operate under an approved conditional use permit. The site also contains recreational vehicle storage, meeting the definition of outdoor storage, which was not approved under the conditional use permit, and is not permitted under C3 zoning with a conditional use permit. So the proposed rezone resolves the outdoor storage issue and a few other issues. This is what you see on the screen here is a vicinity map showing the site. The site is on the north side of Santa Fe Street. It backs up to the railroad tracks and the industrial bypass. This is a closer map aerial of the site showing the zoning. As you can see, the surrounding zoning on the east is M1, which is industrial district. On the west is C3, or commercial district. The key findings in support of this are that the proposal is in conformance with the future land use map and the community development plan. The proposal would have minimal effect to the nearby properties. The property is suitable for commercial and industrial uses. The public would gain little if the application is denied, and the associated development plan allows for mitigation of potential impacts to nearby properties. These are the findings in support of the criteria that are in the zoning ordinance, the criteria used to make decisions about rezone applications. The preliminary development plan, the existing uses shown on the preliminary development plan: auto repair, tow lot, outdoor storage, which is currently not permitted under the zoning, the miniature warehouse use. The proposed uses are auto repair, tow lot, outdoor storage, and an expansion of the outdoor storage, and an expansion of the miniature warehouses. So this came in a lot closer than I expected for some reason. So this, that box that's in kind of a turquoise color, that is the area of the existing tow lot, and that was approved by the conditional use permit. One thing I want to point out is that was approved with a gravel surface and not a paved surface, which is, through some interpretation of the zoning code, that was permitted. The areas in green are where some of the existing outdoor storage occurs that has not been permitted. This is a view of the preliminary development plan as proposed in the application. And you can see the new warehouses in the plan. Also proposed stormwater drainage, stormwater retention, as advised by our engineering staff. And that shows you where the new mini warehouse structures would be located. So that's the current tow lot location. And as you can see from this map, they're proposing a proposed storage between the building, the new building, and the existing buildings to the north. So that's what they proposed. Some of the site details: there's a sign that's on the back of the property, the rear of the property, that's to be relocated and will be shown on the final development plan. Will require a separate sign permit. The landscaping on the preliminary development plan is preliminary, and the details of that would be approved through the final development plan. No new street access is proposed. 9 parking stalls are existing and no new are proposed. These are the building elevations. And this is, they propose corrugated metal. Corrugated metal is not a material that's permitted by our design standards. Non-corrugated metal is permitted by our design standards. And so those are just examples of both.
So does that mean they're going to change or conform to the non-corrugated metal?
To answer your question, that would be reviewed at the final development plan, and that's something that is the intention at this point, yes. And that's something that we review the final development plan, make recommendations to the Planning Commission, and they make that decision. But they have been advised that corrugated metal does not meet the design standards. So the recommendation of the Planning Commission is approval of the rezone from C3 to MP1 with the associated preliminary development plan, subject to the conditions of approval that are included in the draft ordinance. Something I should also point out is that the subject property lies within 1 mile of the New Century Air Center, and pursuant to the statutes, it must be reviewed by the Board of County Commissioners before it can be published and take effect.
Understood. All right.
One thing I should point out, too, one of the conditions is that where you see the proposed outdoor storage tow lot locations, that the buildings would be shifted up to those locations, so there would be more space between the buildings and the south property line. The way they had configured it, it didn't provide enough space for access. The other thing that's worth noting here is that this being a preliminary development plan, the city can vary from the standards that would be required under just a straight zoning classification. So if it was M1, you don't have that flexibility. If it's a plan district, MP1 in this case, you have some flexibility to vary from those standards. One of those standards is that any surface for parking or access be paved. What they requested was that their surfaces where they were going to have their storage would be gravel. And what we recommended, what staff recommended the Planning Commission, what got approved, or what the Planning Commission is recommending, is that areas where vehicles are to be stored would be permitted to be gravel. Areas where there are service drives providing access to those storage areas would be required to be paved because of the moving vehicles and the dust that can be picked up. One basis for that recommendation is that the areas are pretty small. They're not an area that's very visible, and they are not adjacent to any streets, so you wouldn't have any gravel or similar debris being tracked onto the streets. Thank you.
Very good. At this time, with the presentation done, there's a member of the public that would like to speak regarding new business item number 6. Now would be your opportunity. With no one coming forward, does council have any questions for Mike?
A quick question, Mike. During the Planning Commission meeting, since it does butt up right against those residences there, did any of the homeowners express any sort of concern or support of the project? Did anyone speak out either by email or by attending the meeting?
All but one of those homes are actually owned by the applicant.
Oh, are they?
And rented. Yep. And we received no comments from the public, either outside the meeting or during the meeting.
Excellent. Thank you.
I was going to have you go back to the previous slide here. You got the close-up of the storage area. I wanted to go back to the previous slide.
This one?
No, the one before this one. That's the one, right?
Okay.
Yeah, Lance Crest owns those 3 properties right there on the front. And the rest of us, I believe that there's there's some small businesses off to the west, and to the east, I think, is there's an auto. Well, actually, it's Gardner Energy, and then there's TradeNet. So really, from the perspective of residences, I don't think there's going to be any real any real impact